I used to think my grandfather's legacy was measured in memories. The way he laughed quietly at family dinners. The way his hands trembled when he signed papers he said were meant to protect us all. Before he passed, he made one thing clear to my mother and the rest of the family: the money he had saved over decades was to be divided fairly. Not as a favor, not as a reward, but as protection. A safety net for each grandchild and child so no one could claim desperation later. I trusted that promise. For weeks after the funeral, everything felt heavy but orderly. Documents were supposedly being handled. My mother spoke confidently about finalizing details. I assumed the division was being processed. Then one afternoon, by accident, I saw something I wasn't meant to see. Bank statements, transfer records, large withdrawals. The money wasn't sitting untouched. It had been redirected, quietly, to fund a luxury ski trip, plane tickets, resort bookings, equipment rentals. Photos from snowy mountains began appearing on social media. Smiles, champagne, a caption about family bonding, my share, spent. When I asked my mother directly, she didn't deny it. She replied with a short message that felt heavier than silency. "We didn't think you'd use your share anyway." The words replayed in my mind again and again. It wasn't just about money. It was about assumption. About deciding my stability didn't matter. About treating my future like something optional. I didn't respond in anger. Instead, I responded with one sentence. "A surprise awaits you." I wrote it carefully, not emotional, not threatening, just aware. Then I contacted the executor of my grandfather's estate and requested a full audit. I forwarded every transaction record I had. I asked for clarification on fund distribution and compliance with the will. I waited. When my family returned from the ski trip, they expected confrontation. Maybe tears, maybe arguments that could be dismissed as emotional overreaction. They gathered at my mother's house, still carrying travel bags. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply asked them to sit, and then the door knocked. A lawyer stood there with printed documents. Alongside him was a financial representative who had already reviewed the transfer trail. The room shifted. The lawyer explained calmly that the funds were allocated under legal conditions tied to the will. Unauthorized reallocation constituted misappropriation of estate assets. The audit had frozen further movement of the remaining money. He presented the numbers. He explained repayment obligations. He outlined consequences if compliance was not immediate. My mother's face changed first, confusion turning into disbelief, then into quiet panic. My relatives tried to interrupt, tried to justify, tried to frame it as a misunderstanding, but the documents didn't move. The authority didn't argue. It only presented facts. The trip expenses were recorded. The withdrawal dates matched the transfer records. The misuse was clear. The frozen accounts meant their access to the remaining portion stopped instantly. Control shifted in that room, not because I attacked, but because evidence activated consequences. There was no shouting, just the sound of paper being turned and signatures requested to acknowledge liability. My mother asked me quietly if I could fix it privately. I answered honestly. I didn't create this problem. I only made it visible. Repayment terms were set. Assets had to be liquidated to restore what had been taken. The ski trip photos remained online, but now everyone who saw them understood the cost behind them. No one apologized fully. No one admitted guilt openly. But the financial control was no longer theirs. Weeks later, after the paperwork settled, my share was transferred directly into an account under my name, protected, documented, secured. The money wasn't revenge. It was restoration. Family conversations became shorter, gatherings became formal. Trust, once assumed, now required proof. I didn't celebrate. I didn't announce victory. I simply watched the quiet distance form between us and accepted it as consequence. Grandfather's intention was finally respected, not because of loyalty, but because accountability forced it. And sometimes that is the only way fairness returns. Should I refine it or adjust tone further?